Silas!
Good morning, Dave.
What have we got today?
We got a very special delivery, actually. We saw this, or me and Nick saw this out at Computex. It's a very exciting case. This is like a sub 100, about £85, I think they said RRP was going to be, in-win case. This new one here is certainly the 303. We've just been sent it out in black. Potentially a bit kind of controversial in terms of its layout. It is a very exciting case, and in terms of the actual sort of layout, it's a bit sort of different from what you might have seen before, but we figured we would just kind of give it a quick open.
Yes, we are unboxing this on a ping pong table.
Yeah. I hope I don't damage either the case.
Because Johnny has stolen my workbench.
Johnny has 4 desks.
He currently has 4 desks.
I'm not too sure what that is. I don't know. We shall find out. Standard kind of installation manual, all that sort of business as well. Here we go, so we're at the feet. So this is kind of like the, some might say boring side. You've got kind of good airflow, but in this sort of hex pattern, which is pretty cool. Most people just tend to go for your standard kind of like honeycomb grill. But this is...
Turn it around, turn it around.
Would you look at that?
That is so beautiful. Open it. Open it.
Really nice. Got this cool sort of toolless release. Oh God, it's not hinged.
That's a warning for all customers.
I say tempered glass. It feels like it doesn't flex like acrylic. It must be.
Let's have a...
You want to touch? It feels cold to the touch. It feels like it's glass.
It's glass of some kind. It's not. It might not be tempered glass though.
Yeah. So on the inside, we've got kind of quite a good design, really. It's sort of similar to cases you might see in the past where it's compartmentalized. The idea being that you give the power supply, which is generating its own heat, its own space. What we've seen before in the past, we've actually used the 900D from Corsair in the past as well. It's actually got its own little rad space at the bottom for water cooling. And I think InWin have kind of gone for a similar concept to that, but on a smaller scale, basically. So the smaller form factor. The 900D is a massive case and not necessarily everybody has space for it. So up at the top, we've got kind of power supply mounting, and that's going to go sideways. You've got kind of grills or vents on one side here, and then you've got the sort of full fan grill on that side. So you theoretically should be able to mount your power supply either way, and then it's just going to be pulling in air and chucking it out the back, which is quite nice, kind of keeping that hot air from going inside your system, which is cool. On the inside as well, we've got fan mounts, quite a few of them. We've got 3 120mm at the top, all on rails, so theoretically you can slide the fans to and fro, depending on, I guess, how long your maybe your water cooling radiator is, how much space there is on one end. And then you've also got a further 3 120mm fan mounts at the bottom, which we just noticed actually are, there's like a, that's quite smart. So you've actually got the dust filter that comes out the side.
That's much better.
Yeah. Rather than having to reach around the back. Some case companies started doing it at the front, which I thought was really cool, but they tend to be kind of quite hard to access. That's actually super easy, the fact that you can just kind of pop it out like that. That's really smart. In terms of the expansion, you've got standard 7 PCIe kind of rear entry, exit slots? I don't know quite what you call them. Brackets, basically, so you can have a standard ATX or a full ATX sort of motherboard in there, which is cool. Further 120mm mount on the back. Just for, I guess, a bit more sort of airflow, really. What else have we got? We've got what looks to be like a reservoir mount. So rails there to mount a reservoir, so if you're going to go for kind of custom water cooling, that's going to be nice. And then you've got 2.5-inch drive options there as well at the front, which is also quite cool. I'd be interested to see if this has any 3.5 actually. And we had a look at this at Computex, and I thought it was a fantastic design. I thought it was really, really cool, and I really liked how you did kind of get this great looking case for like a sub £100 price point, because that's not typically kind of.
Wait, this is less than 100 quid?
Supposedly it's going to be 85 RRP or something along those lines. I think that was what if memory serves, that's what we were talking about.
That's competing with like the Spec 01, very.
Basically, yeah, it's kind of
nicely
coming into that sort of good Corsair sort of territory. It's basically something like this, or maybe like a 400C, like a new Corsair case, which is quite cool, depending on your preference. That being said, this does look to be very much more optimized for water cooling, basically, or custom water cooling. We'll see if we can find like an AIO cooler to see if we can fit that in there and how potentially your mounting options might work for that. The only other thing as well, I don't think there's enough space.
Very sleek front.
Yeah, very sleek front. Okay, so you do actually potentially have space for 2 3.5-inch drives back here, which is quite nice. I like the cable routing as well. I like how they've kind of all done that for you to a degree. I'd imagine you still have to get rid of this cable tie and still kind of feed the cables through, but All in all, very clean. Little slot here as well.
In-win stickers, just
in-win branding was
everything.
Even when you're not going to see it, basically they want you to know that it's their case, which is quite cool. That being said, you could probably get quite a thick 360mm rad at the top there.
As thick as you like, pretty much.
Yeah, and even do a 120 in the back if you really wanted to. That being said, you can use the bottom, but of course, bear in mind if you're running 2 graphics cards. Your first card's probably going to be either here or here. Second card's going to be kind of like down here, basically.
And that's going to be right at the bottom.
So you probably won't be able to fit much in the way of, I mean, maybe slim fans, but your typical fan being about maybe 2.5 to 3 centimeters.
Well, you can tell this isn't designed for water cooling because, I mean, most cards these days are 2 or even 3 slot. That's not going to fit in the bottom with a regular fan. Whereas if you had, like, let's say an EK water block, the tubing goes straight upwards.
I mean, equally as well, you're completely set if you're going for M80X. If you wanted to go for an M80X, even like an Intel SLI setup with M80X, completely possible. You would actually have a little bit more space to mount stuff at the bottom, which would be quite nice. I feel we need to find like a cooler to see how that's actually going to work. Because I'm interested to see how you would get maybe like a 240, like Corsair sort of H100 or something like that into the case as well. So maybe we'll grab one and check that out.
Let's do that.
Yep. So the tolerances on this case seem to be very tight, very, very tight. Typically you would mount like your radiator in the top, say if it's a 240, 120 at the back, or possibly even at the front. That seems to be the route that NZXT have been going with their like S340 case. They've been suggesting that you push the radiator in the front, have it as a pull configuration, passing air sort of through the case. So we went and grabbed, we couldn't find a 240 that was out of a box, but we found an H80i. So bear in mind that this is actually going to be significantly wider than most radiators will be. The depth is crazy on it, but it gives you a good idea of where you can actually start to mount your components. So you'll have your SSDs, I guess, at the front for a typical configuration, maybe a full ATX setup. When it comes to actually getting a radiator in there, the tubing is going to be your kind of main problem. You can have it installed at the top. It's going to be really, really tight, potentially interfering with the side panels, and a lot of bend on here to actually get it in. We might try, I guess. Maybe we will try and actually get one set up. It does involve kind of putting a motherboard in there and all that sort of business. It's a new case, we'd quite like to keep it fresh. We're even seeing maybe if you could pull the radiator to the back and have it sort of in this space, but there doesn't actually seem to be the space to get the heatsink or anything through, which might have been quite an interesting idea actually. I would imagine if you made a larger cutout in the back here, you could actually fit the block itself through, have the radiators in here and kind of have them a little bit more enclosed, maybe just have some fans on the front, and that could look really clean. That being said, you can still get it at the back, you can still have it at the bottom. There's enough space here even to still have, I guess, all the motherboard, potentially all the motherboard connections on, and still have fans, and still have a radiator at the bottom. The only other thing that we were looking at again is deeper hard drives. Hard drives tend to be different thicknesses, but you can still fit those around the back. It's going to be, again, pretty tight up against the side panel, potentially with your cabling as well. But it does look like the depth is there to actually have that done, which is cool. So they have actually thought about that. Even the deeper hard drives are still going to be absolutely fine. Most people moving more towards sort of solid state memory rather than hard drives, but to still have your large game library, hard drives are always still going to be the best. Yeah, if you like the video, if you like the InWin 303, let InWin know. Let Justin know at InWin. He's our kind of main guy there. Like and subscribe, share, all that sort of business, and leave a comment if you enjoyed this kind of walk around. If you want to see more of this case, or if you want to see more cases or components, by all means tell us, and we're more than happy to oblige. But otherwise, see you next time. Like and subscribe, share, all that sort of business, and leave a comment if you enjoyed this kind of walk around. If you want to see more of this case, or if you want to see more cases or components, by all means tell us, and we're more than happy to oblige. But otherwise, see you next time. Good. See you next time. I'm in your